Hey, so I couldn't just make such a sensationalist title without presenting the hard evidence to back it up. The study that inspired it was relatively simple. Basically, inmates were asked to rate themselves in comparison to the average member of their community on some characteristics, in a scale from -5, indicating they are much less, for example, honest than the average community member, to 5, which means that any number above 0 signals they believe to be better than average, and below 0 that they believe to be worse than average. Very simple, straightforward stuff, right? As you can see, for all attributes including honest, generous, self-controlled, and moral, the average responses are higher than 0, indicating they consider themselves to be better than the average person. Well, except for one attribute: law-abiding. This was the only attribute where the prisoners rated themselves as average. Well, go figure. So, answering the original question, why does this happen? Why do prisoners think they are better than other people? Well, we all do. And this is a very reliable phenomenon called the better than average effect. It is a consequence of a more general tendency that humans have to self-enhance. Remember these words, they're important. But what is the better than average effect? Well, just a little rant and disclaimer. It is not because people are in prison that they become lesser human beings. This study, in some ways, frames inmates as inherently worse in these characteristics, and I don't believe that to be necessarily true. Still, this study makes for a good demonstration of psychological biases due to its shock value, and exactly because we, free people, tend to view ourselves as obviously better than inmates. Oh, wait, couldn't this be a demonstration of our tendency to self-enhance and think we are better than others? Okay, back to the video. So, the better than average effect is defined as the proclivity to rate one's current abilities, attributes, or personality traits more favorably than those of the average peer. A lot of studies have been done on this. In general, they all agree that these things have positive consequences for your mental health. In fact, they are positively correlated to self-esteem and negatively correlated to depression. So you now know that this is a general phenomenon, not only experienced behind bars, but what variables exacerbate our tendency, your tendency to self-enhance, my tendency, our tendency, we tendency. First, people have an intrinsic motivation to feel good about themselves. Feeling like you are better than others or better than you really are is a strong protector against low self-esteem. This is demonstrated by empirical data, showing we have more tendency to deceive ourselves in relevant topics. An academic is more likely to show the better than average effect in intelligence-related questions than on physicality-related ones, because being intelligent is probably more important for that person. Makes sense, right? A second important factor is ambiguity. It is easier to self-enhance when the questions or criteria used to judge our performance are ambiguous or vague. So, if I ask people if they have a better moral compass than the average person, almost everyone will say yes, because definitions of morality are inherently vague. However, if you ask prisoners if they are law-abiding, as we saw, they do not show that effect to the same extent. This happens due to the existence of obvious criteria pointing to the fact that they are, in fact, not law-abiding. Another important variable is group belonging and individuation. People tend to show more better than average effect when comparing themselves to strangers than to friends, and to groups rather than individuals. You can see this video for more on groupal behavior and biases. Additionally, members of more individualistic cultures tend to show more self-enhancement than members of collectivist ones. The latter emphasizes the importance of the group, and so people tend to focus less on their own abilities and individual value. And the value of the group reflects on your own value as an individual. So there's probably an intrinsic and egoistic motivation to also see the group as better than in individualistic cultures. So, just to wrap this up, finally, the question has been answered. Prisoners think they are better than you because most of us have a tendency to self-enhance, to think we are better than we actually are. This tendency is exacerbated for various reasons. Ambiguity, group comparisons, and culture all contribute to this. Prisoners showed the better-than-average effect in ambiguous questions. They were comparing to the average member of the population, not to individuals who they knew. And they were from England, a pretty individualistic culture in the grand scheme of things. Now, another question arises. Should we try to reduce our own self-enhancement biases when there is evidence that it's actually good for our mental health? Well, I'll leave that one for you to decide and to answer in the comments if you so choose. If you are interested in more videos about psychology, biases, and a lot more, you should subscribe. And if you are particularly interested in the criminal justice system, you should check out this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.